Councillor Potier, Councillor Loftus.
Moved by Councillor Potier and seconded by Councillor Loftus. Be it resolved that Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of St. Charles hereby opens the regular meeting of Council at 6 p.m. on December 3, 2025.
All those in favor? Carried. Councillor Laframboise sends her regrets. She will not be attending tonight's meeting. We would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Robinson-Huron Treaty Territory, and the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Atikameksheng Anishinaabe. We also wish to recognize our neighboring community of Dokis First Nation. While we meet today, we would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands we each call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and to improving our own understanding of local Indigenous people and their culture. Can I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda? Councillor Loftus, Councillor Lachance.
Moved by Councillor Loftus and seconded by Councillor Lachance. Be it resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of Council held December 3, 2025 be adopted as presented.
All those in favor? Carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interest. Councillor Loftus.
None, Your Worship.
Councillor Potier.
None, Your Worship.
Councillor Lachance.
None, Your Worship.
And none for myself. Any questions from members of the public? No. Any announcements by council? I hear none. Okay. Tonight, our first item on 3.1 is a presentation by Ryan McBain, and subject is Sudbury East Planning Board. If you want to start, go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor, Council members, and staff. Thank you for the opportunity to speak regarding my proposed fourplex development on 3A Chef de Fils Lane. I'm here to address several issues requirements for servicing that have become disproportionate, unclear, and in some cases impossible to meet. To the point that they threaten the feasibility of the modest low-density residential project. The Planning Board has already confirmed that the land use is appropriate, parking and lot coverage meet the standards, compatibility is not a concern, rezoning from R1 to R2 is suitable for the area. The remaining challenges relate only to water and sewer services. These obstacles are not supported by evidence, scale, or proper planning practice. To resolve all the concerns related to water quantity, I'm installing a brand new well, regulation compliant, well constructed by a licensed professional. This ensures verified construction, documented yield, full compliance with the Ontario Regulation 903, no reliance on old infrastructure. This is the highest standard of assurance any developer could provide. Occasional well issues in the village have been misunderstood. Only a small isolated number of older wells have ever ran dry and in fact faced the same water issues over 50 years ago when they were originally installed. These were shallow, built before modern standards, located in a small isolated area of the village. This extremely low percentage does not indicate a community-wide water problem. It simply reflects the natural aging of older wells, a normal rural reality. This cannot reasonably justify subdivision level testing for a single fourplex unit. To further reduce water demand, the fourplex will include low flow toilets, low consumption faucets, high efficiency shower heads, high efficiency appliances. This development will use less water per unit than older homes in the community. Water testing requirements are unclear, undefined, and impossible to satisfy reliably. A major issue is the lack of clarity around the testing being requested. There are no written standards or minimums provided by Planning Board or Building Services. No guidance about required yield, acceptable flow rates, required recovery times, pass-fail thresholds, what documentation is needed, what criteria will satisfy the municipality. Developers are being asked to spend thousands of dollars without knowing what constitutes approval. This is not transparent, predictable, or fair. The municipality is applying subdivision level testing for a single fourplex. This type of testing and reports being requested include flow test, engineer letters, and potential interference studies. Are typically required for large subdivisions, 20 to 50 lot developments, high density residential complexes, and not intended for one small low density 4-unit building. This is disproportionate, unnecessary, and inappropriate for the scale of the project. No engineer or professional well company will provide a guarantee against impacting neighboring wells. This is a critical point. The municipality is asking for assurances that no professional is legally permitted to provide. No professional engineer, professional geoscientist, well driller, geographical consultant will issue a written statement guaranteeing that neighboring wells will not be affected. This is because groundwater systems are naturally vulnerable. No professional can control or predict the geological conditions. Providing such a guarantee would violate professional liability rules. It is impossible to guarantee the performance of wells they did not construct. Insurers will not permit such a guarantee to be issued. You are asking for a document that no certified professional can legally or ethically provide. This makes the requirements unachievable, not because of the well, but because of the professional regulations. The second major issue involves sewer capacity. The St. Charles Lagoon, operating at approximately 50% in stable, healthy condition. Under no strain, not approaching any limits, yet the administration is requiring a sewer capacity confirmation letter for a modest 4-unit building. Why is this being requested when the lagoon is running at half capacity and functioning perfectly? The requirement is not supported by data, engineering reports, the actual operation condition of the system. It creates unnecessary delays and administrative burden. The combination of subdivision level water testing, no written approval standards, impossible to obtain guarantees, misinterpreted of well issues, unnecessary sewer capacity checks despite a half full lagoon creates uncertainty and the cost that places this project at serious risk. If the project cannot proceed, the municipality loses new housing, increased tax revenue, local construction employment, reasonable gentle density infill development, all because the requirements cannot be justified. Tonight, I respectfully ask council to take 2 clear, reasonable, evidence-based actions. Accept the installation of a new well as a full confirmation of water supply without requiring subdivision level testing or imposing professional guarantees. Removing the sewer capacity requirements given that the lagoon operates at 50% capacity and has no issues. These decisions allow reasonable development to proceed. I'm committed to reasonable, modern building practices, a brand new well, water efficient fixtures, modern construction, compliance with all provincial standards. But the current requirements are unclear, disproportionate, and in some cases impossible to satisfy. I ask the council to support a fair, transparent, evidence-based process so that this much needed small-scale development can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Any questions, Councillor Loftus?
No, thank you for your presentation.
Councillor Potier?
All these requirements and everything, was there like, there wasn't anything presented in terms of like what the minimum is like to meet?
No.
Yeah. I don't know, I think like we should be looking into this a little more and have a report brought back to council on it, but it does have to do with the planning board. I know we have you know, a motion on the floor tonight regarding a lot of that, so yeah. So for myself, thank you very much for the report. Yeah.
Councillor Chance.
So right now, your application for zoning, because you were looking for zoning,
Yes.
that has not went through
No.
on condition of well testing for your zoning?
That's right. So there's no current well on the property.
I don't see how that's a zoning bylaw issue. That would be more of a CBO issue for the well, not zoning.
Yes.
It has to be done at some point, I agree. If we're going to get, if the plan is to drill a well, then we will know what the water is, and I think that's what's being asked for. So whether it's done at the zoning portion or the building permit portion, it will have to be done.
No, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, I don't think, as a condition for changing zoning bylaws, like for the zoning bylaws, like typically, you know, it's never been a condition of the well for changing the zoning, usually that's a condition for construction, not a condition for zoning change, that's why I'm confused on that.
We could ask the planner, but do you feel like this will just take longer if we're already getting told that we would get a well drilled, then wouldn't we know what the water is?
So,
Do you have an answer for this?
so basically, when I addressed this, I did send in a letter to yourself, Paul, addressing my concerns on what is the scope of the planning board actually is. And basically, I said the same thing. I said that I believe this is a building services issue. Definitely, you know, even the sewer capacity. What is warranting these questions to be asked? Is somebody, you know, stating to him that, you know, the lagoon is at 90% and we should not be developing anymore, you know, putting on?
Yeah, that, you have something to add? Yeah,
If we're talking about the lagoon, that is a good enough question to the municipality. We've done lagoon studies. It's not ridiculous to ask the question and to have a letter to say that.
well, that could be a simple response from the municipality.
Right, once
Yeah.
it's requested.
So I don't, if it's just the lagoon, I don't think that's a factor. But this whole concept of who is the person that should be asking for the well capacity, how, because an R, you're requesting a
R2.
R2, which also could be a simple, maybe a little storefront. R2 gives options for that. If the well capacity doesn't support, I would imagine, if the well the capacity doesn't support a fourplex, then you'd be looking for other options than constructing a fourplex.
And that was my initial concern, you know, when I started the process, is that I was forced into basically providing building, like, plans for a building. I said, well, I'm not there yet. I want to make sure that we can get the zoning redone, and then I will design something with building services and in accordance to all the bylaws for heights, widths, you know, parking spaces, anything that pertains to it.
Mm-hmm.
But $8,000 later, I submit this and followed up by more questions, which I'm not understanding why they're being come up. Like, I even have one on, he's got a condition of the planning board sent back a response, what's the height of your building? It's not on your plan. Again, why are all these questions coming up, and when do they stop? Because I give answers to the ones that are asked, and then, oh, here's 3-4 more. And I feel like I'm being stonewalled every time I'm going in the rezoning process.
Okay, much appreciated. We are, like Councilor Poitier stated, going to be passing a motion later on, and I've prepared a possible amendment to help hopefully resolve some of these issues.
Just wondering, have you reached out to like well drilling companies and seen like your neighboring wells, what kind of yields they have? Cause usually like instead of drilling a well, like when I went to build my house, just saying, okay, my neighbors, these are the well numbers for my neighbors, I called the contractor that drilled them, and that's how I gave them my
Flow rate.
proof of water, right? So have you looked into, is that an option?
So I have reached out to Pat Houle, and basically he's with the Houle Well Drilling, and he has provided that chef de fist is between 30 to 50 plus gallons per minute on the 4 wells that he installed there, which is, you know, would supply 15-20 households on one well. That there is no water issues, you know, in that area.
Okay. Yep. All right. Any further questions? All right. This is a matter that I think is in everybody's mind. How do we address this? And it hasn't fallen on deaf ear. We're trying to resolve it.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, next item. Item 4.11, report to council short-term rental review prepared by Andrea.
Thank you, sir. Oh, do I need a microphone?
I spun it around, so I don't think it'll be better
Yeah.
now, or
It's better now.
it moves now.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's on, I think.
Now it's on? Okay. Thank you, everyone. So 2025 was our first full year with our short-term rental licensing bylaw. So this is a report to let you know how the first year went and also recommendations going forward. We are recommending that the initial fee of $1,400 remain in place for all new applications. We're also recommending a reduction in the renewal fee to $700 based on our experience with working in this bylaw, not only in this municipality, but in a year previous where we had passed it in the municipality of French River. So we've actually got, the department has 2 years experience with this bylaw that we've had in St. Charles for 1 year. So just to bring everyone up to speed on where we were before we passed the bylaw, we had 15 STRs listed within the municipality of St. Charles. We currently have licensed 4. We had 2 STRs remove their listings after we passed the bylaw. They decided that they couldn't meet the requirements or no longer wanted to operate. And we had 7 of those listings, which I believe are still operating, that did not require the license. They were either operating as bed and breakfast establishments or tourist establishments that had multiple listings. So they wouldn't have required a short-term rental license at all. And we still, I believe, have 2 applications that are pending, which I forgot to put on the analysis. We did track our time spent in the first year of the department using this licensing bylaw, and we did feel like the initial prediction of $1,400 covered the cost if we took into account the inspections, possible re-inspection, and also the administrative time. So we recommend that that charge stay the same. But as predicted, but after spending time and actually going through a year of renewals in another municipality, obviously it takes less time to renew an application. We're not asking for all new information. We're not doing all of the initial research that takes the most time when getting into these applications. But we are still doing 1 inspection, and we'd like to reserve the right to do a second one if there's any issues that we need to follow up with. So based on our calculations, we feel like a $700 renewal fee would be fair, would cover the cost of the program, and that's really what we're looking for with our licensing fee, is to cover our time in administering the program. So we are putting forward that is our recommendation if council so chooses. We would amend the fees bylaw to make sure that the start of 2026, anyone renewing their license would be paying $700 moving forward. So does council have any questions?
Any questions? Councillor Loftus?
No, I'm in agreement with her recommendations.
Okay, Councillor Putzi?
No, thank you for the report. It's nice to see it's doing good. It's a shame that so many of them, well, didn't, I guess technically qualify for it or fall under that jurisdiction, but I guess those are able to be monitored through other means in a sense, you know, to make sure everything's all up in compliance. No, it's good. I'm in agreement with the $700 fee reduction for the renewals. Yeah.
Thanks.
I think they'll appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lachance?
Thanks for your report. It's nice to see that you guys are considering cost savings for the reapplication, the renewal, sorry. I'm just curious, how are you guys still tracking, like I said, way back, there's 15 people listed.
Mhm.
Are you still seeing that there are any looking for unregistered STRs?
Through your worship, yes. So that's going to be part of our ongoing enforcement. So we'll be checking in. We do have an enforcement list of, well, now we're up to date, but we'll keep checking throughout the winter. So if new licenses come up, we'll be able to reach out and contact them, let them know we have a license. And as long as they work with us, we go through the application. If they decide not to get in touch with us, then we can write administrative monetary penalties to say that they're operating without licenses advertising without a license. So there's a few ways that we can try to gain compliance through fines if they don't reach out.
All right, thank you, and I agree with the recommendations.
Okay, thank you very much for the report. Next, item 4.1.2, backyard hen, final bylaw. Go ahead, Andrea.
Okay. So thank you for your patience with this bylaw, council. We've tried to get as much information as we can to move forward because I do think this is a fairly big change that we're proposing in the municipality. To remind council, we did put out a draft bylaw for public to, we first put out a public survey to ask for if we had support of the public to allow backyard hens. And after we did find that public was generally in support of allowing backyard hens, we put out a draft bylaw looking for public comment. The staff also reached out to the Ontario Federation of Agriculture for comments so that they could review the bylaw for us. So this report summarizes any comments that we received. We received quite a few comments from the Ontario Federation of Agriculture, and which I put into that first table, showing our staff recommendation for what they had to say. And I will go through them because this is a fairly big bylaw and I want everyone to have a chance to see what we've done so far. So they did mention considering a licensing program. Staff does not suggest a licensing program because of the administrative burden this would cause. And we don't believe that there are that many people using backyard hens, but that it would become so important that we would have to license them. We're going to focus more on putting out education for people who do want to keep backyard hens so that they have good resources to run a good backyard hen operation. We were told our setbacks from wells were fairly restrictive, but we were happy with that. We felt that 5 meters away and downgrade from any well was a good choice. We were told that deceased hens need to be disposed at specific facilities and that we've decided that we would include that as part of our education so that people keeping hens would know how to dispose of hens properly. Storage of feed needs to be secured. That language is in the bylaw. Flocks to be registered was mentioned by the OFA, and we're going to include that in education, and we would keep that to the hen owners' discretion to register their flocks. We changed some of the language for approved manure container to make sure that it was also waterproof, weatherproof, etc. They were concerned that we mentioned that hens were defined as any hen up to the age of 4 months old was considered a hen, and that chicks would somehow not be allowed on properties. And that's not how we've interpreted the definition. Basically, if people wanted to raise their hens from chicks, they would be allowed to have more, they would be allowed to have really any amount of chicks up until they're 4 months old. So if they have any chicks that don't make it to that age, well, then that would just be considered a loss. If they do end up having more of them than they're allowed, reach 4 months old, then they would be asked to rehome them at that time. So depending on the number that they had at 4 months, they would have to decide how many they would keep to be in line with the allowances of the bylaw. But people could still raise their hens from chicks. We're not going to disallow that. They found that potentially an at-large was too restrictive in the bylaw because we don't really allow within this bylaw hens to be outside of coops or runs. We have to keep in mind that this bylaw is not meant for farms. It's meant for typically smaller properties. Hens being used for personal use, for eggs, and potentially for meat as well. So the idea of having hens free range on these smaller properties is not something that staff feels would be easy to enforce. So we are recommending that we keep hens within coops and runs to avoid hen at large complaints on smaller properties. The OFA felt that 30 hens was too large of a number for personal use. The 30 hen number was associated with properties larger than 5 acres outside of town limits, just to remind council. So we have adjusted our numbers to 20 hens, but we can discuss that number because this ultimately is council's decision. We took OFA's opinion as an educated opinion. They asked about who would become responsible to clean up manure if it became a problem. And really anything that would cause a problem as far as garbage or manure or anything like that in any yard can be covered under laws that we already have, including our property standards bylaw. So if we had to move in to clean up, we would be able to do the cleanup and charge it back onto a property owner. We're not doing it through this bylaw. It would be through property standards. And they also wanted to make it clear that vets should be allowed to dispatch or dispose of a hen if they were working in their own, if they were working under veterinary care. So we added the ability for veterinarians to dispatch hens on people's property. I'll go through some of the public ones, and then there were some main issues that I wanted to bring up for discussion with council. So unless anyone has any questions on the OFA comments, I'll keep going.
No questions.
Thank you. Okay, so the public, we did get some response from the public, basically stating that in some cases they felt like this was becoming, there were too many laws because we're becoming more like a city. But currently our laws don't allow hens on any properties that are not zoned rural. So this law actually becomes more permissive in a lot of ways, allowing this to be an action that people can take. So I'm not sure if it was just an overall, just feeling that laws were inappropriate, maybe not understanding that currently this action, keeping hens in the backyard is actually not allowed on most properties. There was some general non-support of allowing backyard hens because feeding chickens costs more than buying eggs, and that they can cause problems that don't exist now. But staff does believe that this bylaw really does take into account setbacks, and not allowing roosters and keeping hens in coops and runs should minimize any new complaints that might come up. And just to remind council, generally the public was in favor of allowing backyard hens within on properties that are not zoned rural. There was a consideration saying that we should make bartering of eggs allowed. Oh, not allowed, I'm sorry, because there is language that says that they cannot sell eggs, but staff believes bartering would be really difficult to prove, so we're not quite sure how we would enforce bartering not being allowed. There was asking to consider us to allow anonymous complaints, but our complaint policy does not allow us to accept anonymous complaints. There was a question about how defecation would be controlled on property. Hens being kept in runs and coops would keep the defecation off of everyone's property and would also reduce hens at large. Would coops need to be heated in the winter? There is a note in the bylaw stating that ambient or good proper temperatures need to be supplied to the hens, but we would be looking into best practice for the keeping of animals. There's no temperatures that we want to put into the bylaw to make it too specific. Thought maybe that the construction of the coop to keep wildlife out of walls might be unreasonable, but we do believe that coops should be kept in good shape to conform with property standards bylaws so that and also anyone keeping the hens has to protect their hens from wildlife. So we would assume that they would want to build a coop that would be in good shape for protection. And asked if we should add a mechanism for allowing residents to apply for exemptions or variances to allow for more hens. And staff would suggest that if people wanted to have more hens or have more types of livestock or any of that sort of thing, they could apply to the planning board to allow this as a permitted use on their property. We've had this situation in St. Charles where residential rural properties were allowed to have more livestock because they went through the steps of applying for the permitted use. In some cases, that might be appropriate. In other cases, for smaller properties, we just don't see why we would allow people to have more hens if the properties are really too small for livestock or for farming. Are there any questions on the public comment?
No, no questions.
No? Okay. So, because there was no questions, I'm hoping that you're generally in favor of what staff recommended. But there were also some comments from council that I'd like to bring up that came in after the report went out for review. And one of them I'll bring up is the dispatching of animals. So dispatching of hens on property. So this means essentially killing a hen on your property. I bring this up because we're saying vets should be allowed to do it. I will say the municipality of Killarney decided to remove, to allow people to dispatch hens on their property if they wanted to, because they felt like it wasn't going to be that big of an issue with the number of hens we were allowing. It fit within the culture of their town that people, go hunting and they process animals within their garages, and why should we be stopping people from doing that in their homes? So this was brought out in discussion, and so I thought I'd ask if council had any concerns or questions about whether we should allow the dispatching of hens on properties. Imagining everything from a small property on Hector Street to a 5-acre property out in the middle of a rural field outside of town. This is, in some ways, this bylaw is almost should be split in half for the two types of properties, but this is the town we live in. We don't live in a concentrated area like Guelph or Toronto where we're looking at all just smaller residential properties. So we're kind of answering questions for a bit of a wide range of property. So anyway, I'll bring it back to, what does council think about the idea of allowing the dispatching of hens on properties?
Councillor Loftus.
I have no problem with it.
Okay. Councillor Pate?
Like with the dispatching of hens portion? Yeah. No, I don't have any issue with it, because honestly that statement about it being part of their culture, I mean, we're farming and hunting community. It's nothing that probably most people have done in the past, and I don't foresee anybody just going out in their front yard on the sidewalk and dispatching of a hen there, which might be a little traumatizing for kids if they're walking by, but maybe they'd be interested in it and learning the process. Yeah, I don't have. As far as I was concerned, I don't see an issue with allowing it. Yeah.
Councillor Lachance?
Yeah, I'm more concerned as to why it was a concern in the first place. Like, is it they feel it's going to attract animals or something with odor? But you can have a barbecue and a smoker in your backyard going. I don't have a concern with people dispatching their own hens. There may be a feather or two that gets out of their yard, but other than that.
Yeah. Okay. So that one, I think everybody's unanimous.
Okay, thank you. We'll change that in the next draft. Another one was section. Actually. I just want to find the appropriate section. My search isn't working. Okay, I'll just speak to it and see if I can find it while I'm talking. So speaking to the following the regulations of the minimum distance separation laws. This is a law that comes into play usually on rural properties when, there we are, 5.4, which is on page 23 of 366, just in case council wants to see what I'm talking about. So we did state every person shall ensure that all infrastructure built or maintained for the keeping of backyard hens shall meet all provincial minimum distance setback requirements. This was added because this is a common setback. Anytime you're talking about livestock, you have to take into account minimum distance setbacks to control for odor and noise and that sort of thing. But it really applies more to rural properties and usually larger scale properties with more livestock. The question was, why do we need to include this with these small amounts of animals? I could see removing this from since we do have fairly restrictive setbacks and fairly restrictive numbers of how many hens we allow on each type of property. I was wondering if any council had any suggestions or worries or questions about
Because
why it would be included or not.
the setbacks are already described in the bylaw. So that this is almost a second set of, all right. Councillor Loftus, any questions or comments?
No, I have no objection removing that.
Mm-hmm.
Councillor Paty?
The, like, how different are they? Being more permissive or less permissive, in a sense, right? I guess because we only have really three, the 5.1, 2, and 3 that are the setback requirements, right?
Mm-hmm.
5 meters, what is it, within 5 meters, downgrading of any well or well cap, 30 meters of shoreline of body of water, or 5 meters from any rear or side property line, or 10 meters from the dwelling.
Right.
So, I mean, some households that may restrict it to the point that they may not be able to fit it on their property. Do the provincial minimum distance setbacks allow it in their cases more or less, or I don't know if, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
not blanket to allow.
Go ahead.
I feel like I need to come back with a better answer. And since since we're going to be changing this and making changes to and bringing forward another draft, I think I could probably put a bit more time into that answer if council's okay with that.
Apologies.
No.
Councillor Chance, you?
Now is
MSDS.
when people go to build a house, they're gonna have to say, are you planning on having chickens? And if so, where's your coop gonna be? Because it might determine where your house is gonna be on your property.
I remember the MSDS was in a scenario where there's a agricultural sector of the municipality, and somebody wants to build a house. And now they have to make an MSDS, they have to analyze how many kilometers away are all of the cattle, how many, so it's more of and there's MSD1 or MSD2. One is when it's a house being built in an agricultural setting. The other one is somebody wanting to start an agricultural setting close to houses.
Or increase.
So it depends on which one, but it's, in my view, but I agree. If you could come back with more information on that one, it would
Yeah.
be appreciated.
I was gonna say, is it, so the provincial minimum distance setback requirements, yeah, like, it seems very like almost commercial or agricultural, like as you just mentioned, that kind of.
I believe
Yeah.
so.
So it may not even apply to the use case of small residential type coops. So maybe if we were to only follow that, like, I mean, because I think we should have one or the other, right? Not both, right?
Yeah.
And if they don't meet the minimum requirements in terms of if they're not agricultural or farmland, maybe they wouldn't need to meet any requirements. So then they would be allowed to not have any setbacks at that point. So that's a good thing to maybe, look at and come back on. Thanks.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, waste. So there is a requirement of the bylaw that says,
Five point, 4.5.
thank you, 4.5?
Or
No,
4.4.
I know.
section 4,
Talking about it
curbside
there.
collection. Okay, 4.7. No person shall place out for curbside collection any manure generated in the keeping of hens. So this was brought up as a question to like, well, how will people remove waste from their hens? So ideally, any waste that is generated from the hens hopefully could be handled on the property. So either in compost heaps, in gardens. So larger properties outside of town or even within town, but larger properties shouldn't have a problem with dealing with their waste. hopefully the numbers that we are proposing shouldn't cause the amount of waste that should cause massive cleanups that have to happen on a weekly basis, where this has to be put out at the curbside and we're adding a lot of extra waste to curbside collection. We also have limits to what can be put out on curbside now anyway, as far as number of bags, potentially weight of bags. I don't know if that's in your waste bylaw, the weight of bag. So people who are keeping hens, especially within the village, might already find that they have to come up with a better way of dealing with it. Again, either composting, finding a farm where they can dump it. And if they can't deal with it on their own property, potentially this isn't a great property to have backyard hens on, right? So we don't want to be so fully wide open that everyone can have a chicken if it's not an appropriate piece of property. So this can be included to not allow. So if it's found in the garbage, people can be told, sorry, that's not allowed. Or we can choose to be silent, and hopefully our other restrictions as to number of bags and weight of bags will just force people to come up with another way of getting rid of this waste without putting it in the garbage that is already restricted anyway. So how do people feel about this?
I have a question.
Sure.
What is the pounds per chicken per week production of waste? Is it like large? I've never had chickens.
It's a great question.
Wow, I've had chickens, but they were free roaming.
So you didn't have to do it. Huh.
Pre-roll's good, eh?
Yeah, well, they were in the field. But
I don't think 6 chickens has as much accumulation as like 3 dogs. Basically.
Or 3
and-
cats, yeah.
And they're putting it in the waste. They're putting it in the garbage bags, so that's.
whether it's
It doesn't
cat-
matter.
cat
A
feces
It
or-
all goes in, people are putting that in the garbage, they are not disposing it the way they should be. You can't do anything about it.
Unless you say no to all of it, and then what's the alternative? What are you telling people to do with it, right? Like I know of places where you're not allowed to put it in the garbage. So then they have to either pay to have someone take it away or bring it to a particular depot, or not here in Ontario. This happens in my mother-in-law's town in BC. So she actually has to pay for someone to take away her animal waste because that's what they've done. So if that's not what we're looking to do here, and we're just looking to say like, follow our rules for waste, which is the 2-bag limit and the weight. And as long as it's not more than that, then if it is more than that, then start composting, put it in your garden, or go bring it to a farm, right? I think that's what we're saying here, is that people are kind of doing it anyway with other types of waste, and is it really a big problem right now?
anything to add, Councillor Loftus? Councillor Patsy?
Yeah, I think if anything, waste disposal or stuff like that, we should maybe touch on with, like who is doing waste collection possibly, and I don't know what kind of, do we have a, like I know we have our agreement with the provider, but I don't know if we have any like strictly like policy or bylaw on what is technically permitted to be put into the waste collection bags, right? Like that's something that I'm just looking at it right now, even on the website, and there isn't really a whole lot other than saying only household garbage and recycling will be picked up, and it being residential usage.
I think cat litter is included in there.
You can, you're
Yeah,
permitted.
you're allowed. Yeah. I don't think it's unless that's in the compost or the recycling portion of it. No,
We don't have
I don't
recycling.
think that's
no, I wouldn't think so either. But yeah, so I don't see anything in terms of waste. So if anything, I think that would be, if we want to be, not allowing it or whatever the case is. I think we should touch that with waste collection, not strictly with this bylaw, because like it's been mentioned, it's more of an overall issue if it is one, like for dogs or cats or whatever the case may be, whatever. pet you have is-
Maybe we should
Yeah.
have a a bylaw saying all waste should be double bagged or something to prevent.
Well, yes and no, then you're worse for the environment.
Yeah, I know.
And that's technically compost you're putting in your waste pile, so it's kind of a benefit, not a
Yeah.
detriment in my opinion.
So I think we can leave that out, and if we really need to follow up on it, we could do
Deal with it
something.
later.
Yeah, deal with it, on the waste collection side of it, type thing, from that angle. So,
Don't tell people to put in their septic tanks.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so then we have no issues with dispatching. I'm going to get a better information about the MDS separation setbacks, and then waste, remove it, because if we say it's not allowed, then we have to explain where it is allowed, and we'll deal with that in more of a waste bylaw. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Does anyone have any other questions from what they've read?
Councillor
The
Lopez?
bylaw?
No. Councillor Petit?
I only have the one, and I think it wasn't, I guess, brought up by a resident this time, but I know it's been brought up before. It's on the sale, the commercial activity portion of the bylaw, which that's also something that I think, because you spoke to, is it OMAFRA or the Ontario Agriculture? Yeah, I think like that. Like the commercial activity portion almost falls under their jurisdiction as well if you're selling stuff commercially, right? So I think we can leave the commercial activity portion out of it, because if they're reselling eggs or manure commercially, well, then that becomes, if they're selling it, it's commercial activity, right? If they're gifting it to somebody, or I don't know what, like, they're not supposed to be like a farm who's selling it on. Putting a sign at the end of the road. They're
Hasn't been inspected and.
yeah, but they're a business, right? So in that sense,
A bigger farm. Yes.
a bigger farm, yeah. In a sense, they're a business, so they're taking that responsibility. So I think we leave the commercial activity out of it, and we can leave the regulating bodies enforce it if need be, right? Because I don't know.
Where
You
does it
mentioned
state?
Section 17.
Yeah,
Oh,
you mentioned
I know.
Killarney has adopted this, or they're still in the process of it.
Thank you. They're still in the process of review. Yeah, I'm going next week. I will say though, like I know that commercial activity is allowed on rural properties for the sale. This is something they're definitely allowed to do. We feel like because this is really meant to be for personal use, and the whole idea was you can use this to educate your kids on where food comes from. Having 5 chickens in the in the village is not really going to produce so much food that it's going to bring down your grocery costs much. It's really going to be more for the education and for the experience. So I think we felt it was important to make it clear that this isn't really for just to raise chickens to then sell. It's really meant to be a personal use, to have those chickens to enhance your own life, and not really to increase any particular activity where people feel like they could maybe make money by raising a few meat birds and selling those. Like, we felt like it was important to make the distinction that this was not really meant for commercial use at all.
Do note it specifies products derived from hens. It doesn't say nothing about the chicks. So if you want to start selling chicks out of your house,
Well, that's I mean, we're touching on the commercial activity portion of it. Like, I mean, I don't know if we're regulating the,
312.
having the hens and everything. I don't know if we need to regulate the commercial activity of it, because it can already be regulated in a sense, right?
Yeah. However,
On rural property.
if people start selling, let's say they dispatch 5 chickens and they say, I'll sell that one $5. Well, then it might be probably not inspected. They might have not done it in a sanitary area. If they want to consume it for themselves, that is
Yeah.
their option. But
100%, though, but you can't do that. You already can't do that. You already can't be selling meat.
You're not supposed to.
no, but that's why
Yeah.
having it in the
Yeah,
bylaw
yeah.
it just enforces that this is not for sale.
Yeah.
It's for you.
Because I don't see somebody, like, the thing is, if somebody who has 20, I think is what we set the limit to.
20
20, yeah. I think earlier it was 30, possibly for the larger lots. It was changed, though.
initially.
Yeah.
For rural residents.
I mean, I don't see somebody with 20 chickens on the larger lots not wanting to sell it, but they might want to they would have to then rezone to, or get a special rezone rate to be able to sell it at that point, because in our bylaw we're restricting it.
So rural
Right.
instead of
They would
rural
have to,
residential.
special rural or special, what's the smaller one?
Rural residential.
Rural residential, yeah, like we've done, yeah,
With allowing the special, the permitted use of keeping livestock. Which,
Yeah, yeah.
And also probably the sale of livestock.
yeah.
Um,
Because I don't know if any other, like, I've looked at a little bit of other municipalities, and they don't even really touch on the base, on the
Selling portion.
commercial aspect of it, yeah, the selling portion of it, but, I mean, I wanted to bring it up as a discussion point, and that's, yeah, so.
Makes sense though. Councillor Chance?
Yeah, I understand, like, if we start trying to police that stuff, like, not saying that we're policing it, but we're saying that it's not permitted, we're kind of throwing ourselves in the hat to kind of police it too, right?
hmm.
And that's kind of one of the responsibility that I don't think we would want, or liability I don't think we would need. Let's just keep our hands out of that cookie jar, maybe.
Okay.
Okay, maybe put it in the information brochures.
Yeah, that, these are regulating bodies on, commercial activity and, like,
Okay.
You cannot or shall not sell uninspected products and blah, 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 like this, yeah. Maybe not blah, 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 but.
All right, any more
Thank you.
questions from council? No? Yes?
I'm sorry. On that note, so are we happy with those overall numbers? So 5 within villages and within the village and on waterfront residential properties, 10 on rural residential properties, but 20 allowed on rural residential properties that are 5 acres or more. Is council happy with those numbers based on the OFA recommendation of bringing down the number 30?
No.
Okay.
Okay,
Good.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next item 4.21, report to council, renewal of fire department insurance. Tammy?
So I'm happy to bring to council at this meeting before the end of the year and before January that we actually have our insurance policy renewal in place. I think I've been here since 2019, and I think it's the first time we've got to deal with it before the end of the year. Anyway, that being said, I'm also happy to report that we have a very small decrease in our decrease. We have an $18 decrease in our premium. So our broker did tell me, though, we were looking at a 4.85% increase, but they did go back to the underwriting and requested a better rate. So they did come back with a better rate of $18 less than we paid for last year. So that's good news for us, because normally we're looking at, 5, 6, 20%. Also, the fire insurance has come back again at the same rate it's been at for as long as I've been here, so the $2,408, no changes there. If you see the email, I included the email from the broker asking for some, she's still asking for some items. We are still working on those. One of them is to provide the CVOR level 2, that's been ordered. Will be sent as soon as we get it. The detailed list of values for 40 Casimir Road, that has been provided. So that's been looked after. We are still waiting for the detailed list of values for the fire station though, but it's not holding up the renewal. Other than that, I think we're good. Any questions of council's?
Any questions, Council Loftus?
No, it's just very nice to see our insurance stay the same or even get a little bit better, because
that's for sure.
in the past, we've been hitting some very high numbers.
Yeah. Councilor Putzi?
No, it's nice to see, It's almost like a couple pennies in the taxpayers' pockets. No, that's great. Renew.
Okay, Councilor Lachance.
It'd be nice to see everything stay status quo like that.
All right, therefore, we're ready for the resolution. Can I have a mover and a seconder for the recommended resolution? Councilor Loftus, Councilor Lachance?
Moved by Councillor Loftus and seconded by Councillor Lachance, be it resolved that Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of St. Charles hereby authorizes the renewal of the municipal insurance policy through BrokerLink for the period of December 31, 2025 to December 31, 2026 in the amount of $181,060 plus applicable taxes.
All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much.
Need the other one
Next.
for the
Pardon?
fire.
Oh, the fire one. Oh, that's right, that's true. Mover and a seconder for the fire. Councilor Lachance and Councilor Paté?
Moved by Councillor Lachance and seconded by Councillor Patier, be it resolved that Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of St. Charles authorizes the renewal of the Municipality of St. Charles Fire Department insurance policy provided through BrokerLink for the period of December 31, 2025 to December 31, 2026 in the amount of $2,408 plus applicable taxes.
All those in favor? Carried. Sorry, now item 4.31, report to council, request of free use of the hall by Our Children, Our Future. Denis, you're...
Yes, Your Worship. We did receive this email requesting the free use of the hall. They did receive free use of the hall for previous events. They're requesting for next Friday for a Christmas party for local children. The email speaks for itself. And so the request is before council. Since, and I have as an option, if council wants to like formalize when is it appropriate to allow a free use of a hall. I did include a sample policy that council could consider adopting or working on, so we streamline it, and if you get it once a year, you're limited, or we just include it on a general list. Because obviously we are having more and more requests for such. And at what point do we say no, you're limited to one, or is this good for the community, has many events that you can provide? It sits somewhere in that middle where we should be. Obviously there's a cost to the municipality just operating the hall. Again, having a condition that if you leave the hall in such a state that it requires significant cleaning, we should follow up with a fee. Generally we're looking at $55 an hour for cleaning. By the time you pay salaries, materials, that's where we end up. And that would be where there's something significant, where the bathroom is dirty, or there's been a spill on the main floors where they have to take out the washing equipment. But again, it's up for council discussion. First would be the request, and secondly, if council wants to proceed with a policy.
Okay, so we'll deal with the request first. Councillor Loftus.
Yeah, I'm okay with donating the hall to OCOF for their event.
Okay,
I'm also in favor.
okay. Councillor Lachance?
Just a question, has because they're looking to use the kitchen too as a cooktop from the arena been relocated to the hall yet?
We're still looking at costs. I think the mayor did get a quote at above our budget. The director of operation was reaching out to the ones that we had got a general idea on the cost, and we haven't not got a response back.
I've got one other person that he says he's commonly moves these types of items, and I think I still have to go take a picture of the stairwell, and then he will provide a quote. So.
Okay. And the one that's there right now is still usable? Or?
It's still usable, it's just unreliable. It's happened twice where all of a sudden the one side of the oven is not working, if the burners at the top are faithful and other than the pilot lights that don't work, and you have to light with a lighter.
Okay.
But it's the one side of the oven that's twice it hasn't worked, but then all of a sudden it heals itself in the next 2-3 days.
And the event is open to all children in the municipality, or just children that are already involved with OCOP?
So I did, I only confirmed with Joanne. Joanne is, has confirmed with them that it is open to all children. I didn't check for the age group, but on anything under 12 would be considered probably in their age range. But I could make it definitely a condition, and I think I did. It has to be open and accessible to the community, otherwise it's a private event.
Exactly, okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, in agreement?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're in agreement for the hall. As you stated, though, if there is significant cleaning, costs will be to them. Next, the proposed policy. Is this something we want to deal with right now, or do you want to absorb it? Or is it sufficiently developed? Councillor Loftus.
Well, I think we should have a condition that if the hall is left in a dirty state, that they would cover some cleaning costs.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
even with the OCOC one.
yes.
Yeah, is that already been stated to them, Dennis?
No.
Nothing has been.
Nothing's been told.
No.
right?
No, it's been told, I mean, because we don't, and this is where, because we don't have any written rules, we come to council every single time and ask, and every single time I say, yes, we have to put the condition, cleaning. Adopting a policy would be, yes, it's free, following the conditions, if it requires council approval, or if, yeah, this is your Christmas party, come on in, as long as you meet the conditions in the policy, it's an automatic approval. If it's a new event that doesn't fit with a policy. Otherwise, we could always come to council, because it's always good to know that these events are occurring. So there's a good and a bad, but if it's a rubber stamp every year, should we have
Yeah.
it?
Yeah,
The go-ahead previously.
yeah,
So-
because this is something that occurs in St. Charles every year
Mhm.
with OCOF. So I think if we made some type of a, very plain Jane policy related to them, then it would be. better.
Pre-approved for every year,
Yeah, like pre-approved.
one
so
event
when-
per year.
So they would know, this is our policy for you renting it, and then they get used to, they'll read the policy and the contract, and then they'll sign it. It's just to cover us, like I said, if they do leave the hall in a filthy state,
Mhm.
it could be, usually they're pretty good, but it could happen.
But the policy as it's been written,
Yeah,
are you in agreement with
yes,
yeah, okay. Councillor Putsy.
I am in favor of, proposing a policy. I think the reporting, should be a little bit more frequent, and there should almost be a, how should I say, a criteria for how public it is. Like, I know we've had events where we've kind of authorized a free use of it, and it's kind of gone unadvertised or something. I think at a minimum it should be, these events are 100%, they have to be public events. I think they should be giving us either a page or something that we can put on the calendar and post on the municipal page. And at least that way, it's becomes a greater benefit to the whole community, and not just for who happens to be aware of it, or who happens to drive by the hall that day and, oh, all the cars there. And then I think it should it should at minimum be, I think, quarterly, that we review any usages, or directly before or after the usage. I think, because it's not like it happens every month. I don't think we really have one every month. I think throughout the year we maybe have 4, maybe 6 at most.
So would council consider a condition that it be reported in the quarterly report from the department head?
That would be good.
Yeah, it could likely be Parks and Recs in the quarterly report part. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Lachance?
I think the only other thing to add would be, application for this. Under the policy, there should be a timeline, that it can't be, like, we're hearing about it today on the third, this event's on the 12th. It needs to be, I understand it's gonna be more of a, with the policy in place, it'll be able to be approved without coming to council. I still think that there has to be minimum at least 1 month notice prior to the event. And
So
if
that
you're-
it can be
Yeah,
advertised?
because, like, you don't want people just saying 2 days before, like, oh, you know what, let's do this. And so we need to have time. If we wanna advertise, we wanna make sure the word gets out. You need to have at least, I would say, a month, notice to be eligible.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, that's good enough to work up a,
Yeah, next council meeting, you'll probably get a revised draft.
all right, thank you very much. Next item, report to council, FedNor Economic Development Intern. Denny.
Yes, your worship, this is some good news. As council remembers, I was given direction to proceed with an application with FedNor and ROD grant, Rural Ontario Development Fund. So FedNor is much quicker in the approval process. We've received the approval and we have 30 days to enter an agreement. So that's why it's before council tonight, so we can get authority to enter an agreement. I did forward this, the success of this grant to the ROD, and it has been received. It was confirmed received, so it will help our application at the ROD side. They are taking longer. The intended start date is early, mid-February for this economic development officer, if successful with the ROD. If not, then I would have to come back with council to see if we want to proceed with an intern strictly with FedNor funding. And then we can proceed, but obviously the funding is much more limited. The idea with the ROD is that you would get a better salary to attract better quality of the staff, and also have some funds to promote financial activity within the town, which FedNor does not provide. They only provide for bare bone expenses, a computer, some training, and that's basically it in their side. So that's why it's before council. Unfortunately, I don't have the ROD response with it, but we do have to submit a response before January 3rd.
All right, thank you. Any questions, Councillor Loftus?
No, so we're gonna accept this one and hopefully,
And nothing will happen until we receive an answer from ROD.
okay,
Positive or negative, it's coming back to council for the ROD application, and then we will know the next
Yeah.
step.
so yeah, okay.
Okay. Councillor Putzi.
Yeah, no, it's nice. We were successful with this grant application. Hopefully, we're successful with the ROD application. I'm in approval of entering into the contribution agreement with the NOR program. Or
Okay.
FedNor, sorry,
Yeah, FedNor.
not roads.
Councillor Lachance.
Yeah, I'm also in agreement that if we're successful in the application with Rod, that we continue and finalize this agreement also.
All right, so let's finalize this agreement, and I also believe that now that we've gotten this half of the agreement, it should help the ROD, so.
Hope so.
This is a larger half, I think, eh? The
We'd still be on the hook for
ROD is the larger?
40,000, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, ROD has a component of, I think it's $12,000 I put in for retaining planners or assistant for financial activity,
Yeah, that's an important one.
which is apart from the salary, so it
Yeah.
would be retaining professionals
Yeah.
to assist us.
Okay, thank you very much. So, yes, go ahead with the FedNor. Report to council, local improvement application. Denis.
Yes, your worship, and this is a new process for us. I've never been through a local improvement, so, but as we're moving forward, we did receive a completed application that was, the sample application was brought to council at a previous meeting. So now it has been filled out, submitted to staff, and it's before council to be received. The next step in the process, if council is agreeing to proceed, move forward, is retaining a consultant to draft off a, as you can see, they have the consultant that I did reach out to. It's a fairly reasonable cost of $760. So with that cost, they would be able to determine the scope of the project and estimate construction of the project. I did verify with MMH, it doesn't not require an engineer or an engineering study. It is a fairly reasonable cost estimation. This is only one of many steps that we have to do. So the next step, we would, if council agrees, we would give the go-ahead, we would get the scope, we would then prepare the petition to be circulated to the property owners. As we know, there's very limited pool of property owners in this case, so the response should be fairly quick. So once the petition, if council agrees, petition is circulated, it comes back to council. There would be a public notice. There would be then a bylaw brought to council. Bylaw would be adopted. If everything is positive, the cost of this would be borne. We can apply it to the entirety of the project. Discussion with the clerk, we should have a better process of an application fee in this case. Unfortunately, we're working it out and talking with the landowner. He owns a significant portion of the land, so the success of this project is, or this petition is high. That being said, this cost will be distributed to the applicable lands. And then they're really looking forward for a spring construction of this road and the sanitary sewer system.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Any questions, Councillor Loftus?
No, I'm in agreement.
All right. Councillor Poitier?
Yeah, I'm seeing a bit of a flaw in this, that, you know, in this case, we'll have, like, of the properties that are in this agreement, I'm not sure how many are all owned by Mr. Doe, but you know, the affected properties, if in this case, if majority of them are owned, so we're saying that they need 2/3 of property owners
Representing a list,
or representative of lots.
and 50% of the value. So you can't have just one lot owner owning 60% of the value of the property saying yes. It has to be 2/3 of the property owners.
Which is JP and Leon.
Well, that's just what I'm like if there is, say, three property owners, and yeah, that's just, yeah, I don't know, or even just two, and if one owns 2/3 or 60% of the property value, and that other person wouldn't want to be involved, well then now that this kind of a petition kind of forces the hand of that one, right? In that sense?
Yes, it would be no different when they installed the sanitary sewers in St. Charles. They would have to do a petition because it was done through local improvement. And if a sufficient amount of people would have said no, the municipality could not have moved forward. But certain people, houses were forced into it. Only very few got exempted, one being on top of John Street where there was bedrock. It was, the cost was, and the other one, which was part of this subdivision that had to move over from Marks Day Warren, where she signed on, or the property owner signed on, moving from the Warren or Dunnet Township to St. Charles, with condition that she doesn't hook up, or that they did not hook up to the sanitary sewer. But anyone else that said no, but the majority said yes, were pulled into. Just to let everyone know, once this is installed, the cost, their lots double overnight.
Yeah.
So they don't lose. So that $20,000 lot line, hypothetically, because I don't know this case, they could double the cost overnight, double the profit overnight, because worth 20, now they're worth 40. So it's not necessarily costing them anything, it's more money in their pocket, but now either if it's vacant land, it's expensive to hold on to.
Yeah, and that's just what, I guess, the local improvement of, say, you know, sewers, sanitary sewers in St. Charles, you're taking from a larger pool, right? And that's a proponent that I'm worried about, it, you know, maybe not in this case, but in any case, it could be taken advantage of at a later date, where if you're scoping a project that only has 2 or 3 property owners, and the one who's submitting the application owns 30 or 40%, and their family member is the other one that owns 40%, and then they're just trying to get that other person. You know what I mean? That's where it starts really. It can, you know, I don't want to say construed as unfair, but it could come across that way, right?
So currently, any lots are not buildable because they
Yeah.
don't have roads.
Yeah.
Once the road is in and sanitary sewers, now their lots can be sold on the open market. So it's not like there's a monopoly of you have to sell to the developers of the region. It could be
Yeah.
person X, and would any reasonable expectation, the lot went from something in the bush to a buildable lot that
Yeah.
has a very marketable value.
Right.
And I don't want to say yes or no to both of them.
Yeah.
I understand. It's
Yeah.
basically, I didn't want to spend this money and I'm being forced into the corner.
Yeah, exactly.
I honestly, it is what it is at this point. We've introduced it. I don't think there's too much of an issue with it. I'm in approval of going with the scope of work of $900, and then from there, that's when the petition gets circulated. Is after that scope of work is established, right? So, yeah, I'm okay with that.
Councillor Deschamps.
I think this was discussed probably last meeting when I wasn't for the most part. My understanding is petition to implement the development fee, pretty much is what I'm understanding for the road and the sewage, which is something that we wanted years ago and this person did not want to do. Pretty much to have everyone contribute, and it was one of the solutions to having the road
So,
was brought forward. So like I don't like when time is wasted, and to me, maybe certain people need to open their ears more the first time we try to speak to them and understand things. And now, but if this would have been done 3 years ago, maybe half those houses would have been built by now.
yeah, and other subdivisions that that do exist or there's section, there's also possibility that may apply, but any.
I'll tell you the only reason I like it and I would like to see it go forward is that as soon as this is done and say it does get approved by, again, I don't like the margin. I think the margin should be played with it, again, stacked in the favor of the person bringing the motion forward. Not the motion, sorry, but the application.
The petition.
Application for it. But, it just, anyone that goes to develop after, there's no more excuse for, well, we're gonna put a septic in, and no, that's done with, and he gets the ball rolling on that. Then potentially, it starts, if we're going off of, what's that, Greenwood on that side, I think it is. And if it starts going down Greenwood, then it has potential for the back half development also to have the septic already part way there, so. And again, at that impasse, like where the turnaround is or that roadblock is, where the front half of the subdivision ends, now is the owner of the second half considered a part owner of the.
So the good part about this legislation, which I will also, in the plans, we can upsize the sanitary sewer pipe to accommodate future expansion of the subdivision and put portion of that cost, the differential from the small pipe to the bigger pipe and the cost of installing to be paid for on the back portion of the lot. So the front portion won't be borne putting say a 12-inch pipe when an 8-inch would have been sufficient. And when the back application part of the connection or the study or the would be a connection fee to pay that portion,
So
so.
that being said, the person that owns the back half of the subdivision would be the majority vote holder, because they would have a say also. Is that not the case?
And no, the way the legislation is for the abutting properties of the application. It's a very limited scope, and I understand what you're saying
Well,
is.
I'm just saying, we might, we're doing this on one part, it should, it should apply throughout.
I think there's a for the back portion, it would be the same, but then that would be the back portion. But right now, the scope of this
It's
one
not
is
the
only on the front.
It's not the application received. Council can independently.
It's one subdivision. We gotta stop looking at it as front portion, back portion, it's one subdivision. There's multiple owners, but it's one subdivision. This is where we keep on shooting ourselves in the foot.
And in this case, if this is where the 50% or the 66, if the back portion says no, then it could die there. Because he would own more than 50% of the lots, and by saying no, it would delay. So I'm just bringing the application was put forward.
And all honesty, it doesn't really make a difference whether it's, I think it has to happen, the front portion has to happen first regardless.
This could be, I'm sorry.
No. And afterwards, after the first, that front portion is done, yes, the second, but the cost will be borne by individual lots regardless. Like the front portion will be absorbing their costs, and the back portion will be absorbing their costs.
We need to start, again, putting
Yeah.
bigger pipes in the first place,
Yeah, that's what we're gonna be doing.
but if,
Who's taking that cost?
we're taking it until,
Because technically, as Councillor Shaw was saying, the people who we would then be putting the cost on, the back property owners, say, weren't part of the petition, right?
It would.
Or is that where the legislation comes in? Because that's where you gotta be careful there, because
No,
they're not included in the petition, but we're sizing the development of the city of sewer
and we will
lines.
be holding on to that cost until they decide to develop.
Yep.
You're right.
But do they then need to do a petition to say that they want sewer lines? Because that's where it's.
And it would be, when it comes back to council, when we get the engineering report, it'll be not a change of scope, but an option. I can't remember the proper name there. Where you see the regular pipes and
Upsize.
for the lack of a better word.
Deviation?
Change order?
Yes, change.
Yes.
Through you, your worship. To Councillor Pache's question, you'll recall that the subdivision agreement does specify that the lots are to be hooked up to sewer. So in each instance where we've allowed for septic, they've had to come to council. So that would still be the same case in the back.
And
That if
the
he
reason
didn't
was,
want to apply
Yeah.
to the sewer, he would have to come to council, and that would be a council decision as to whether that then is allowed.
To go to septic.
Per-
Per lot, yeah. It's because we're, so then if they were to then not, yeah, so I guess that's where, okay, so we don't allow them to go septic, and then you also have a fee that you have to pay because we upsized the pipe at the beginning when they did this,
yeah,
petition.
to allow
to allow you to be
their,
able to hook up.
their construction.
Yeah,
and the road is also in this too.
yeah,
So finally, the road is gonna get built,
Exactly.
not at the entirety cost of one person, which is again.
Exactly, and it makes more sense. So, agreement. Are you in agreement?
And for me, again, it's just about the 50%, like if this is being proposed by a person that knows that they have 50% or 2/3, they know that they have the monopoly, well, it's I don't know how fair of a proposition it is. I feel that we need to make sure that everyone has the owners have somewhat of a voice. I don't know.
I think everybody's gonna have a voice, but the parameters are set out at the provincial level, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, and there has to be public notice, and there will be an opportunity for any owners to present.
How many owners are there? 4?
Unfortunately, there's a few numbered companies, but I'd say minimum 3 and most likely 4.
Yeah. And everything's gonna be, we're gonna find all out how many.
And the back property owner, this is a public process, it can be shared with them. And if the back property owner wishes to submit an application, it could be the same process. It might be some cost savings by doing the entire project in one go.
Well, main point, not putting a turnaround there and then turn around and then putting
Yes,
another turnaround. And
We're in the process of the one turnaround. We don't.
I don't know, at this point here, it just makes me really wish that we could just put a development fee in from the start and we put the road in and charge everyone that owned a lot there. That's what we're doing now.
That's what we're doing now, yeah. Are you in agreement of doing this now?
Yeah, again, I'm in agreement with the purpose, I just don't agree with, the parameters, but if that's set provincially, well, nothing to say about that.
2/3 of the property owners representing at least 50% of the property values.
Which could be one person.
Yeah, could be.
Still has to be 2/3 of the property owners.
2/3 of the owners.
It's
Yeah,
a-
but
it's
if
a-
it's one person and then one numbered company that owns,
So
Yeah.
as
Yeah,
be
that's what I mean.
7 of 10 in this case. I get the numbers right, I think 10 lots, 7 property owners have to say yes.
There we go.
The one person could be this 7,
Owners,
this is what, I
Yeah.
guess what you're saying, is that the one person carries the majority. Or one group of individuals, I would say.
and the same with the back lot, it's gonna be even, maybe less.
could we
Is-
just sit,
You don't wanna
do
do
we
the,
apply it to the whole subdivision at once instead of doing front, back all the time, like?
well, it's just that now we're ready to move and finish all of those lots as we stand.
So if we have to put
And
the road in,
the cost differential would be one turnaround.
but if we're putting this in, we're taking the cost of the road right now, and the second that the road and the septic is put in, if it's voted through, property owners of every one of those lots will have to reimburse us
Mhm.
a fee, so if we're doing it, it's gonna get paid for, and it's not the municipality that's stuck paying for it.
No, but I'm just saying, if we can have more houses built sooner, then that makes a difference to the municipalities,
So.
as opposed to waiting another 2
So
years.
the option, so we're going, this is a petition from an individual
Mhm.
or a group of individual. The municipality can actually circulate a petition to the north and make it a municipal initiative. So there's 2 options to this, like this is a property led, but it can also be a municipal led in the greater interest.
Cause if we could do it all at once and have it done with, instead of having to revisit this again and,
What would be the, I'm just, now, let me explain my thinking. Right now, it seems to be a go-ahead, everybody's getting ready to put in the road, put in the sewers, and we'd have development ready for spring, where maybe they'd start building more houses. What would be and yes, we'd have one extra turnaround. Well, if we bring in the other owner, it might take an extra year for the cost of one turnaround, basically.
no.
No, but
If you-
that's
for
the way I'm thinking
For
of
the
it.
construction of it, I understand what you're saying there.
And it just, if we have more houses, it makes more income for the municipality because it's more taxes and more. I agree though, let's move on to afterwards right away to the northern side.
Okay.
But because that is, more development means more houses, which means,
Plus your turnaround cost of remobilizing a contractor in here, right? Or your material, waiting for the price of material goes up. But yeah, no, it's fine. I'm okay with,
Okay, moving ahead?
yep.
Okay. All right. Next, report 4.3.4, report to council, Univi lease renewal. Go ahead, Denis.
Yes, your worship. The Univi lease is due of renewal. I did have a discussion with the head of Univi. They provided some cost comparisons that they're paying at other sites. I can't be too specific at what site, what cost, but generally $16.50 is the maximum cost they're paying. That one was utilities included, same as ours. I think the $14 one was plus water. So it is 14, but there was water utility added to that, which I believe is still significant. So what the last time we renewed with them is that we withdrew from janitorial services, which was around 20 hours a week that we were spending there. So and we were at 16, so we had dropped the price to buffer the change. So we are now ahead of full whatever 20 hours of janitorial work costs per week. We are ahead. As we all know, as we all know, there's no real great need for commercial lease space, even though if we would have commercial lease space, there's potential for rental, prime, in that building especially. But $16 seems to be the regional maximum right now. So Univi is proposing a 5-year renewal rate, maintaining is $16 per square foot. Maybe 5 years is long. For me, 16 seems still reasonable relative to anyone else renting. We're getting $3 a square foot for the school. So the benefit here is $16. The building is rented. It's still running a profit, even though if you consider replacement cost of the building, it's probably just paying for itself. Again, like I said, this building is a benefit to the community. Pharmacy, medical services, health services, mental health services, community crafts. There's a fitness center. Unfortunately, it's only contributing to my profit. The rent is not included in the way it's done there. But the building itself is generally a neutral endeavor, but very positive impact to the community. Leaving it at 16, in the short term, we are okay. Would they agree to probably pay more? I'm sure we can negotiate a higher rate, but at this point, 16 seems fair. Whether we want to renew for 3 years instead of 5 could be considered to see where the market lies in 3 years from now. Otherwise, it's recommended for renewal.
All right, thank you. Councillor Loftus, what are your thoughts?
Well, I know that they've done extensive renovations in the building. I don't think they plan on going anywhere, and it does provide us a service. I'm just thinking rent-wise, like if you keep 16 for like 5 years, that seems like a long time. Maybe a lease of 3 years, like the number 2, you said, and review in 3 years to consider an extension term or, an increase at that time. I think number 2 is the way I would go.
All right, thank you. Councillor Patsy.
Yeah, I'd also be in favor of going 3 years because obviously you never know what the future holds, and option 3, I think the CPI increases per year. Obviously that would be nice, but I think some of the CPI increases we've seen could be drastic to that to that amount. $16 a square foot, you add a 3 or 4% CPI increase, and also it's almost $17 a square foot, and I think that'd be quite a drastic jump. Yeah, I think the 3-year is a good option. Was there any, like, they were looking for 5-year, but what was the previous agreement? It was 3 years?
It's 5 years. It's
Oh,
always
5
been 5 years. It's stable, it provides a stable environment for predictable funding. But 3 years, they budget yearly, so it increases the burden at 3 years versus 5, which
Yeah.
is a look at the market. Do we have somebody knocking down our door to rent at $22 a square foot? Probably not, but you never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I'd be in favor with option 1 or 2, because even if we were to do an increase after 3 years, what would it really be? We're not gonna, we're not gonna tell them that they, go find a new building, so, yeah, I'm in favor of 1 or 2. I don't think there's gonna be any substantial difference, in 3 years to the point that we wanna increase it to $18 a square foot. And, yeah.
All right. Councillor Lachance?
I like option 2. Gives us an opportunity in 3 years if we need to revisit things. If not, we can keep it the same.
Okay, thank you very much. Option 2 is the preferred choice. Thank you very much, Denny. Now we are at the consent agenda. Does anybody have any items they would like to have withdrawn? Not for you, Councillor Potier?
No, I don't believe so. Where's the consent? Right there. No, I don't.
No,
No.
item 5.
We
No?
already have some resolutions coming in.
Okay,
So-
Councillor Lachance?
I just wanted to note that for the one from the Service Planning Board, I'm happy to see that this is finally moving forward on that case.
Okay. I was thinking I'd like a resolution of support for item 5, trying to, a 2-1 highway split for Highway 11 and 17, try to push the provincial government to move ahead with those. It's been promised forever, but they forget to put the start date on their promises.
TBD.
It's item 5.
Manage watch?
Yeah. Are you ready? Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Lachance, Councillor Potier?
Moved by Councillor Lachance and seconded by Councillor Potier, be it resolved, the Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of St. Charles approves the items of the consent agenda under section 5.1, 5.4, and 5.7. And be it further resolved that Council receives the items of the consent agenda under sections 5.2, 5.3, 5.5, and 5.6, except the following: item 5.4.1, item 5, which Council directs a resolution in support be prepared.
All those in favor? Carried. Now we are at item 7, bylaws. Can I have a mover and a seconder for the first and second reading? Councillor Loftus and Councillor Potier?
Moved by Councillor Loftus and seconded by Councillor Potier, be it resolved that Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of St. Charles hereby gives first and second reading to the following bylaws. Bylaw 2025-48, being a bylaw to appoint the Committee of Adjustment for the Corporation of the Municipality of St. Charles. Bylaw 2025-49, being a bylaw to authorize borrowing from time to time to meet current expenditures during the fiscal year ending December 31, 2026. Bylaw 2025-50, being a bylaw to provide for an interim tax levy for the year 2026. Bylaw 2025-51, being a bylaw to enter into a contribution agreement with the Minister of Employment and Social Development, referred to as Minister of Jobs and Families and Minister responsible for the Federal Economic Development Agency for Northern Ontario. And bylaw 2025-52, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2019-25, being a bylaw to establish rules and regulations for the St. Charles Cemetery.
All those in favor? Carried. Can I have now a mover and a seconder for the third and final reading of bylaw 2025-48?
Committee of Adjustment.
Councillor Loftus, Councillor Putty.
Moved by Councillor Loftus and seconded by Councillor Potier. Be it resolved that Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of St. Charles hereby gives third reading to and finally passes bylaw 2025-48.
All those in favor? Carried. Now can I have a mover and a seconder for bylaw 2025-49, authorizing to borrow from time to time to meet current expenditures? Councillor Lachance and Councillor Loftus.
Moved by Councillor Lachance and seconded by Councillor Loftus. Be it resolved that Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of St. Charles hereby gives third reading to and finally passes bylaw 2025-49.
All those in favor? Carried. Mover and a seconder for bylaw 2025-50 for an interim tax levy. Councillor Lachance, Councillor Potier.
Moved by Councillor Lachance and seconded by Councillor Potier. Be it resolved that Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of St. Charles hereby gives third reading to and finally passes bylaw 2025-50.
All those in favor? Carried. Can I have a mover and a seconder for bylaw 2025-51, a bylaw entering into a contribution agreement with the Minister of Employment and Social Development? Councillor Lachance, Councillor Loftus.
Moved by Councillor Lachance and seconded by Councillor Loftus. Be it resolved that Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of St. Charles hereby gives third reading to and finally passes bylaw 2025-51.
All those in favor? Carried. Mover and a seconder for bylaw 2025-52, a bylaw that amends bylaw 2019-25, which is to establish rules and regulations for the cemetery. Councillor Potier, Councillor Loftus.
Moved by Councillor Potier and seconded by Councillor Loftus. Be it resolved that Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of St. Charles hereby gives third reading to and finally passes bylaw 2025-52.
All those in favor? Carried. Now I hand control to Councillor Loftus.
Okay, so I need a second for the motion brought forth from Mayor Bronconnier. Councillor Lachance?
So moved by Mayor Bronconnier and seconded by Councillor Lachance. Whereas the municipality of St. Charles has two members of council that serve on the Sudbury East Planning Board, which acts as the approval authority for consents in certain planning matters under the Planning Act. And whereas council has received concerns from residents regarding delays from perceived imposition of unnecessary or costly study requirements, and the non-advancement of planning applications to the planning board for decision. And whereas the authority to accept, consider, defer, or refuse applications lies with the planning board as a governing body and not with individual staff or consultants. And whereas it is in the public interest that all be forwarded to the planning board in a timely manner for formal consideration. And whereas council supports the right of its representatives to bring forward a motion for administrative decisions at the planning board to ensure fair, consistent, and applicant-focused processing of planning matters. Now therefore be it resolved, the Council of the Municipality of St. Charles formally supports its appointed planning board members in their efforts to ensure that planning applications submitted to the Sudbury East Planning Board be submitted to the planning board, and the application form shall not be delayed, withheld, or rejected at the staff level. Requests for additional studies shall be recommendations only unless authorized or directed by the planning board, and all applicants are provided a fair opportunity to have their submissions considered by the planning board in an open, transparent, and timely manner. Be it further resolved that this resolution be forwarded to the Sudbury East Planning Board Chair, the partner municipalities of French River, Killarney, and Mark Street Warren.
Now I have an amendment already for this resolution.
Okay, so can I have a seconder to, for the motion of an amendment? Councillor Poitier?
Okay. Do I read it?
I can read it.
You can read it? Okay.
So moved by Mayor Bronquinier and seconded by Councillor Potier. Be it resolved that the motion be amended to add the following paragraphs before the paragraph that reads, "This resolution be forwarded to." The new paragraphs are, "And whereas council acknowledges that it is presently uncertain as to the most appropriate policies and procedural frameworks required to guide zoning amendments, minor variances, and related planning matters. Be it further resolved that council directs that an independent registered professional planner be retained to provide advisory guidance to council as soon as practicable regarding available options, best practices, and risk management approaches. And be it further resolved that council invites other interested municipalities to participate in this advisory process for the purpose of sharing costs, strengthening intermunicipal consistency, and working toward a unified regional approach to planning, governance, and procedural fairness." Right. To discuss.
Oh, okay, so any questions? Councillor Poitier?
Just-
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. First, we're talking about the amendment. The amendment basically falls with what's happening here in council. Actually, what we just heard earlier is part of the reason that the amendment was created. I feel that we would need to have proper guidance before we can actually take action and set up new policies or guidelines that would help expedite these zoning changes and minor variances, although we did get a note from the provincial government that states any minor variance, I think it's below 10%, is automatically approved now. So, and that's the reason the amendment is to help council itself. While the original motion, I know I'm not supposed to talk about it, but I'm talking. The original motion is for the planning board giving the two members the authority with the backing of council to request that everything goes to the planning board. So that's where things stand.
Okay. Is that it?
Yeah,
Okay,
I don't have any,
Councillor Poitier?
yeah, I'm in favor of the amendment. I don't really have any questions about it. Well, other than, we're not looking for having a planner on every
No,
discussion.
it's just to make recommendations to how to change the policies.
Yeah,
And once we know, have an independent planner come here, give us guidance on how to change the policies. Yeah, it's a one.
to get it to where we need it to be.
Yeah, so that
Yeah.
then we are sure of, we're not putting ourselves at risk
Yeah,
by doing something that we're not informed about.
thank you.
Okay, Councillor Shams?
Yeah, it's nice to be able to go and seek opinion from another professional when you feel like you're at a crossroads, and this gives us the means to be able to do so. So I think it's a good idea.
Okay, and I
Okay.
agree also.
All right.
Okay,
All in favor?
all in favor
Of the amendment?
of the amendment?
And for the main motion, I already stated, it's to give us that we, when we go talk to the board, have the backing of council.
Okay, so back to,
Oh, the first, yeah, I think Mayor
yeah,
Buckney, you
Mayor
already said.
Bobby.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're good.
now you have the opportunity.
Uh, So, I'm in favor of this. I'm just wondering so they're gonna be getting submitted to the planning board. How often? Right, that's what, or not submitted, but, well, yeah, they're gonna be submitted to the planning board. Every application is gonna be getting submitted. Every application, not,
Through you, Madam
Yes.
Chair. What happens is applications that are made sometimes don't make it to the planning board as of yet because reports are
Issues or-
requested and additional information is requested. So the board, in my opinion, doesn't get the opportunity at this time to see all of the applications that are possible. And I think that's something that I would like to be making a request from, on the board side, that all requests should make their way to the board, even if there's a potential extra report being requested. The
So it
board
makes
should
it
hear
to the
about it.
staff
yeah,
level of the Sudbury's planning board, and the staff has a chance to not accept or reject
Yeah.
it before it makes it to the board, and we don't, then you have residents that are like, well, why?
And you never
we
seen
don't
it.
even know about it, nobody knows about the application, if it's been received or what, so,
and you meet on a monthly
yes.
basis, so you're only gonna be able to review it on a monthly basis, is what, like, and I mean, a monthly should be frequent enough, I'd imagine, cause that's all like zoning, minor variances and stuff like that, so, I'm just, that's how the delivery method is, it's on a monthly basis to the planning board meeting, so, yeah,
Yeah.
that's, yeah.
Actually, I think it's 10 meetings a year, there's a few months
Yeah.
that there's,
There's one in the summer.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to see is that delivery method still acceptable? Cause then is that gonna introduce a different challenge of, like, is staff still able to move it forward in that interim, or does staff now need to wait every month to move it
Well-
forward if the application is
it's-
within the parameters? If it's acceptable and they would normally have just moved it forward, does it still have to go, like, it'll still go to the planning board, but does it hold it back until the planning board meeting? That's just, wanna make sure that's,
what happens is that, through you, Madam Chair,
Yeah,
is that what we don't even hear from them, and individuals maybe receive information from residents saying that my request isn't proceeding, but I've heard where some people, it takes months and months.
yeah,
It wouldn't stop anything. It's to help move things along, or at least make the board aware that there's such and such a person that has made a request for a severance, let's say, but there's a request for a special report. And then because the board is the deciding, the board are the deciding factor. The staff just present to the board.
yeah. And that's what I'm trying to get at though, is like, we don't wanna affect the good ones, right? The good applications, and maybe that's few and far in between
I don't think
sometimes,
it'd be
but,
affected. I think the biggest issue, and I'll just speak straight, there's been a lot of people that have complained of wanting to put an application, they give that application and they try to submit payment for the application, but payment's not received.
yeah,
Work only has to begin, once the payment is received, you have X amount of days to complete the form of the application. Payment keeps on being deferred, but for what reason?
Well, that's what I mean though,
So people are
yeah.
getting delayed and delayed and delayed. The application's ready, they're willing to pay, but oh no, we can't take your payment right now.
Well, and,
So
and
that's not right.
yeah, if we're trying to address that and fix that, I just don't want it to become, all right, I can only accept payment after the planning board meeting. Right? I can only accept after they've gone through the reports, right?
That's not the intent. no.
No, well, that's what I just
That's
wanna
what
make sure
you're
that we avoid that,
interpreting
right? Yeah. And is the way it is right now, is that good? Does that avoid that situation, that it's not gonna get pushed to like a monthly basis now of,
Pretty much gives us a right to bring applications to the attention of the board.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
to make the board aware of the
Yeah.
applications and make the board aware of any requests for special reports,
yeah,
being that the board is the deciding.
deciding factor,
They're the ones that have the option
Yeah.
to decide on all of
Yeah.
this.
okay.
Okay, so Councillor Champs, do you have anything else to add?
Sorry. I don't.
That's okay. All right. For myself, I just was wondering, how many applications do you roughly see in a month? Like through, like,
Three,
Average 3.
3, 4.
Yeah.
Right now,
now this is, and this is for St. Charles as well as.
Oh, that's all
Markston.
municipalities.
That's all municipalities, wow, okay.
Not very many.
That's not very many, okay. All right, I have no other questions, so, all in favor? Carried? And I will hand back the
Thank you very much, Councilor.
gavel to the mayor.
Okay, next item. Where are we? Okay, we're going into close. Can I have a mover and a seconder to go into closed session? Councilor Lachance and Councilor Loftus.
Moved by Councillor Lachance and seconded by Councillor Loftus, be it resolved that Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of St. Charles hereby opens a closed session at 7:56 p.m. to discuss the security of property of the municipality or local board as authorized under section 239, bracket 2, bracket A of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended. Topic, funding option for preferred IT provider.
All those in favor? Carried.
Mike's on.
Okay.
Yeah. Can I have a mover and a second to reconvene? Councilor Lachance, Councilor Potier.
Moved by Councillor Lachance and seconded by Councillor Potier. Be it resolved that having dealt with all matters pertaining to the closed session, we hereby reconvene to the regular meeting of council at 8:11 p.m.
All those in favor? Carried. In closed, direction was given to staff as far as which package to be selecting. Next, can I have a mover to seconder for the confirmation bylaw? Councillor Loftus and Councillor Lachance.
Moved by Councillor Loftus and seconded by Councillor Lachance. Be it resolved that council for the corporation of the municipality of St. Charles hereby gives first and second reading to the following bylaw. Bylaw 2025-53 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its regular meeting of council held December 3rd, 2025.
All those in favor? Carried. Can I move in a seconder for the third and final reading? Councillor Loftus, Councillor Potier.
Moved by Councillor Loftus and seconded by Councillor Potier. Be it resolved that council for the corporation of the municipality of St. Charles hereby gives third reading to and finally passes bylaw 2025-53.
All those in favor? Carried. Now can I have a mover and a seconder to adjourn? Councillor Potier, Councillor Lachance.
Moved by Councillor Potier and seconded by Councillor Lachance. Be it resolved that the regular meeting of council of December 3, 2025 be adjourned at 8:13 p.m.
All those in favor? Carried. Meeting's adjourned.